Now, I want you guys to look at Hebrews chapter 12. And I'm gonna pull it up just in case somebody says, man, I don't got my Bible with me. You know what I'm saying? Even though you got a phone, but it's okay, right? So I want you guys to look at Hebrews chapter 12, and we're gonna hone in on verse number 2. Hebrews chapter 12, and we're looking at verse 2. Again, that's Hebrews chapter 12, looking at verse 2. Hebrews 12 and verse 2. I'm going to post it up here so that we can all get a chance to see it. Hebrews chapter 12, verse 2. It says here, looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith. So again, as we talked about the first time we met on this live, right? If we're talking about business principles, we're talking about establishing a business, right, for God's glory, for his honor, then we should look to Jesus. He's the first person that we should look to. He's the first person that we should put our eyes towards, right? Many people, I know you say, man, Moses is my favorite biblical character, Ruth or Sarah, Abraham. That's great and fine and dandy, and we can learn so much from them. But what we learn from them is because of their reflection of Christ, right? It's because of their reflection of Christ that we learn it from them, right? Again, welcome to everybody who's jumping on the line. We're talking about biblical entrepreneurship today, right? Biblical entrepreneurship, right? And today's topic, right, on our Tent Makers Live is Jesus had a why. Be like Jesus, right? Jesus had a why. Be like Jesus. Now, we're reading Hebrews chapter 12, and verse 2, because we're asking the question earlier, did Jesus have a why, and what was his why? What was Jesus' why? And if you can think of what Jesus' why may be, you can leave it in the comments, right? But we're looking at Hebrews chapter 12, verse 2. And it says, Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith. Now, look at what it says next, right? I want you to understand what it says next, because all throughout the scriptures, look, the scriptures is riddled with business principles all throughout this book. So if you want to run a successful business, look at the Bible, right? If you want to learn how to grow your business, look at the Bible, right? If you want to learn how to launch a successful product, look at the Bible, right? Everything, right? All these principles are in God's word. And today's principle we need to understand is we need a why, because Jesus had a why. Jesus had a why, and we want to be like him. Now, look at what it says in the middle of this verse. Who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of God. Now, what does it say in that verse that indicates the why, that Jesus had a why? What does it say in this verse that indicates that Jesus had a why? Anybody that's watching, we got a couple people online, right? What does it say in Hebrews chapter 12 and verse 2 that indicates that Jesus himself had a why? So when we look at the middle of the verse, right? If you look at the middle of the verse, what does it say? For the what? Joy that was set before him. What does it say? For the joy that was set before him. So Jesus, right? Jesus had some joy, right? Something that brought happiness to his mind, right? Something that made him elated, something that excited him, right? He had some joy that was set before him. Doesn't that sound just like the statement that we put up earlier that says success in any line demands a definite, right? It says it demands a definite aim. Success in any line is from the book Education, right? Success in any line demands a definite aim. But hold on. We can back that up as well, because when you look at Ecclesiastes chapter 3, right? Ecclesiastes chapter 3. And again, we're talking about business principles, right? When you look at Ecclesiastes chapter 3, what does it say there? Ecclesiastes chapter 3 and verse 1. It starts off and says, to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under heaven. That lets us know that everything has a purpose. All right. Or I say it another way, everything has a why. Right? Jesus himself had a why. It's put forth before us in Hebrews chapter 12 and verse 2. It says, the joy that was set before him. Now, realize how powerful this thing that was set before him was. And again, what was it that was set before him? What was set before Jesus that gave him so much joy, right? What was set before him that helped him in this instance? Because again, Hebrews 12 and verse 2 says that it was joy which were set before him that did what? Two things it mentioned specifically. Because of the joy set before him, he endured the cross and despised the shame. So Jesus, because the joy that was set before him, again, this why that Jesus had, because of that why, that joy that was set before him, it enabled him to do what? To endure the cross. One. Think about it. So Jesus had some joy that was set, meaning it was put in place before his eyes. It was set there, right? It was immovable. It was something that was set before him that empowered him to endure the process of the cross. Think about that. It was set before him and helped him to endure the process of the cross, because that joy that was set before him helped him to endure the cross. So think about it. Him going through Gethsemane. What empowered him to go through that? It was because of the joy that was set before him. What empowered him to be able to remain on that cross? It was because of the joy that was set before him, right? What enabled him, right, to deal with everything throughout his life? It was because of the joy that was set before him. He put his mind like a flint to that joy that was set before him, right?